Are live. How are you, Andrew?
Hey, really, really good. Can you believe it's February?
I know, I know. So
Like,
we can no longer say Happy New Year.
no, no, no. And the
That
Christmas
ship has
tree's
sailed.
down.
It might be Happy Easter soon.
Well, I've taken all the Christmas decorations down around the office, so the staff have stopped complaining. So there you
Well,
go.
Andrew, thank you for joining me today. Each Tuesday or every fortnight on a Tuesday, we have been coming together. You over in the UK, me
Yeah.
in the freezing cold, me here in Australia in the sweltering heat in Brisbane. And we've been coming together talking about just leadership in general, culture, what we're seeing out there. Both of us studied our org psych degrees together, and we now do a lot of coaching and a lot of development, leadership development. You work with really senior executives within the small to medium enterprise space, and I do a lot of work in corporates, okay, and also in smaller companies as well, but corporates is something that I like to get my hands in. And I wanted to talk about something that I'm getting a little bit annoyed with. So do you want to hear it?
I do, I do. I've got a psych degree, so I know how to listen. So there you go.
So this might be a session. No, do you know what? One other thing I want to talk about, and I only just spoke about it to a group of leaders. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, in one of our programs, and I talked about the impact of untrained middle managers, right?
Yeah,
And this is something I'm pretty passionate about because what I do realize is, and we've talked about this before, that concept of accidental leadership, where people are
yeah,
put into a role because they're a good practitioner, a good technician, good at what they do, or just they've gone for a leadership position and they've got a leadership position. And then all of a sudden it's like, actually, I didn't even know how to lead. I know how to do my job, my technical job. I know how to do that. But actually, I don't know how to lead. I don't know how to develop strategies. I don't know how to lead people. I just don't actually even know what the skills and competencies that are as a leader. So that's the bit that I'm coming from, is the side where people actually are being put into roles with no training, right?
yeah.
The bit that frustrates me is, as leaders, as true leaders, one of the things we should be doing is to be able to set our people up for success. You know, when we put someone into a role, a leadership position, as a leader, we should want to be able to set them up for success. That's our role as a leader. Do you agree with that part? You know, that you
Um, I,
set them up for
I,
success?
I do, because that's what we do all day, every day. And you made a really interesting point. It's one, somebody says, "Oh, I've been put into a middle management position either by choice or by accident." Right? I don't know how to lead. Well, that's, to me, that's a rare beast that has that self-awareness, right? What mostly happens because of whatever goes on in an organization is people get put into those roles and they know that they're not coping, but they won't put their hand up and say, "Hey,
Yeah,
I'm struggling." And
yeah,
so
yeah.
usually where it comes from is I get someone from the top who says, "Hey, can you, well, I'm talking to someone on Thursday, right, who says, this guy is struggling in the role. Can you go and have a chat with him?"
Yes, yeah. Yes,
And
that's right. So someone else is aware of it. And you're right, some people, they don't
is receiving the impact of that poor middle
is
manager. Yeah.
receiving the impact, yes. Or the team, someone in the team has
Yeah.
come and there's been something, or the
Yeah.
results are not there, or whatever it might be. But
Yeah.
what annoys me, I think, the most, and what my point is here, is that so many organizations are not setting up their leaders for success.
And you've
So
seen this a lot.
I do. I see it a lot, and I'm going to share a screen in a moment. But the thing that frustrates me more than anything is, as as a business owner, as someone that manages a division, wouldn't you want the division to be successful? Wouldn't you want the division to be able to achieve the strategy and the goals and the measures that the company has put in place? Yet we so often go, well, this is a bit of a sink and swim environment. You just got to learn. You just got to learn it on the job.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like putting a doctor in a situation, go, well, let's just see how you go with this first surgery. Or let's put a solicitor on in the role and go, right, let's just go. We give them training, don't we? We give them training to be able to do their job. Yet we're
Well,
not
well,
giving the leaders training.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a doctor and a dentist or whatever, you can't practice until you've had
No.
sufficient training and past competencies, right? But
Yeah,
also too, if you're a middle manager, um, they say you made the point right at the start. You've got the technical skills. You're doing the technical work, the operational
that's
work.
right. Yeah.
But now you're
Yeah.
being asked to lead a team that does that technical work.
Yes, that's right. So the bit that annoys me is we're not setting them up. Many organizations are not setting them up for success.
No.
And then when they fail or when they don't produce or get the results that they want, well, they're just not a very good leader.
Hmm.
Whereas to me, it's the leader of the leaders that need
Yeah.
to get themselves into gear and go, right, what do you need? What skills do you need? What competencies do you need? What support do you need? What do you need? What development do you need? So that I can best support you, so that I can set you up for success. And they
Hmm.
don't.
No. No.
So
No.
I'm going to share a screen. I want to talk about, let's split this up into two parts. Let's split it up in the part of what's the impact of untrained middle managers on the business. And then let's talk about it, because I know you love the finance side of business.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it was what's the financial impact of
Hmm.
untrained middle managers?
Yeah.
How's
Let's
that
go.
sound?
Let's go with this slide. I'm excited.
And then what I want to do as well is I've got this great other slide that talks about, and I know you're going to touch on that financial side of it, but it touches on, you know, the real numbers, the
Yeah.
real cost of this.
All
So
I'd say, if you've got a middle manager who's having an impact on your business, it's impacting your bottom line. That would be the key point I'd want to make. Yeah. But let's go with
exactly,
this.
exactly, doesn't it? And there's some real good numbers around it as well. So
Yeah.
I won't go through the list point by point, but what do you see when you know that a business has a whole lot of leaders within their organization that are just untrained? They don't have a learning and development program in place. They don't have succession planning in place. They don't have, say, a coach or a mentor or a leadership development program in place. Out of that list, what do you see?
Well, there's two things. I mean, you've already touched. For me, I mean, I came up because I ran a business and everything when I was running my business was about the bottom line. Where does it go to the top line and the bottom line and the
Yeah.
results, right? And I focused on the results. And then over time, what I saw with people who aren't good in their at leading is the very, very first one, communication issues that lead to confusion, misunderstanding, and conflict, which then leads to poor results. You've got that issue.
Yeah,
So for
yes.
me, it was that. Did you what? Who agreed to do what? Who said what? You told us to
Yeah.
do this, but then you changed your mind. It was all the communication stuff. What about you?
Yeah. Do you know, I see a lot of them because I deal with leaders every single day. But I think that the second last point, which is stress and burnout,
Yeah. Yeah.
what happens is leaders, when they don't feel confident, when they don't have the tools or the resources or the training, they actually feel like they're floundering. They lose self-confidence. They feel like they're stressed, they're overwhelmed. So
Mm.
I see that stress and burnout. So what I often see is them working longer hours,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
because they're trying to make up for it, because they've
Yeah.
got to work, they're working really busy underneath, but actually they're kind of floundering with, well, what do I need? Do I need accountability? Do I need to develop feedback? Do I need to coach? Do I need to manage underperformance? Do I need to lead change? Like all of those things. They just get stressed, they get burnt out, they
Yeah.
suffer from imposter syndrome, they're not confident, and that's not fair.
I mean, you said something really important just there, and it may have slipped by, but you said, "What do I need to do?" But at the coaching level, for me, it's who do you need to be? So if you're being stressed and burned out, right, you could say, "Oh, let's get you to do this. Let's fix your time management. Let's do that." But really, I'm looking at who you're being around the leadership piece, and that there's a lot more courage involved with that. But it takes a lot to say, I'm just not coping.
Yes.
And I think the Google Aristotle project puts psychological safety right at the top, where you can actually go to your leader and say, you know what, you put me in this role and I'm just not coping with it. I need some training. I need support. What I
Yes.
what I see is what I don't see is people who feel they're safe enough to go do that. And that then
Well,
leads to more stress and burnout. Yeah.
yes. Or do you know what I often see as well is them going and asking for the development and the
Yeah.
company going, no,
No. We can't afford
right?
it.
Can't
We don't
afford
want
it.
to pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to pay for it. So let's think about it. Like, I don't know, a program might be 3,000, it might be 5,000, it might be 7,000, say, for example.
Yeah.
I can guarantee, Andrew, and you'll 100% agree with me on this, when we look at the financial impact of untrained middle managers, guarantee every single one of you listening out there that it's going to be more than $7,000.
Yep.
Okay. At the most expensive leadership program, it's going to be more than $7,000 that it is costing your business by not training your middle managers. And this is the thing that annoys me, is that we're putting them in positions and then not supporting them. And that's not true leadership as far as I'm concerned.
Here's another way to calculate this. And we sort of segued a little bit into finance, but think about this.
I'll stop sharing.
Yeah. Just this you'll find this really interesting. Okay. Think of a middle manager that you've coached, and I'm thinking of one right now who I've coached middle management, and I asked his boss, and my clients, when you say they're SMEs, they're running big companies, right? But they're just not corporate.
Sure, yeah.
So I said, my question was, what's the guy's salary or what's his hourly rate, right?
Yeah.
Because I put forward a program that was a lot more than $7,000 to work with this guy, right? A lot more. And they said, gee, that's a lot of money. And I said, what's the guy's hourly rate, right? What's his annual salary and what's his hourly rate, right? And how many people underneath him? And it was a guy in this case, right? And they said it was about 27, 30 people, something like that, right? So you take what this person's doing, struggling in the role at their hourly rate, and multiply that by the reach of that person on their hourly rates. And I said, I think you'll find them a lot cheaper than the impact that this guy's having on your team at the moment. And in that particular case, the guy left. He said, I'm not coping. I fell on his sword. You're not giving the support. He left. And then all the problems started to come out once the guy left. And the bill currently stands at £2 million plus.
Wow.
So far, which is, they say, oh, we can't afford to train. I said, I think you can afford because you clearly
Just
have to lose
choosing not to.
Yeah. So sometimes they can't see they think, oh, well, the guy's a bit stressed, boo-hoo, we'll just replace him. But then it really hurts when they look at the bottom line and go, opportunity cost.
Yes, exactly. And that's the bit that I get annoyed at, is that it's the people that get the results. So your middle managers, if you think about your middle managers, they manage the masses, don't they? They're, our executives or our senior leadership, they're frontline, the people that are actually doing the initiatives, the programs, the projects in order to achieve strategy.
Yeah.
So they're the people, they're the ones that are leading the masses in most situations, inspiring them, driving them, motivating them, guiding them, helping them to do all the things that they need to do, yet they're not supporting them.
No. And there's a confusion over the role, because invariably when I see that happen, their default is to go back and get on the tools.
Yeah, it is, because that's where I feel safe.
I'm busy here.
Yeah,
just do the job. Like, watch me. I'm doing my job. You go do the same as me. That's where they go. They don't lean into it. And I think
because it's uncomfortable, because I don't know it.
Exactly. And the annoyance that I'm picking up, and it's contagious, Kylie, because I'm starting to feel annoyed.
I could get on my bandwagon about this all the time.
The thing that really annoys me is I hate seeing great talent wasted.
The
lack of training, right? And those people, here's the irony, and I've seen this over and over again. Someone goes, you know what, this is too hard here, or they get asked, look, it's not working out, leave. And they go to a company that offers them the training and the support.
Yeah.
And they leverage that role off the Richter scale. They leverage the team, they're supported, they've got the resources, the tools behind them. And then the person goes, why did this person suddenly shine here but not here?
Yes. And I agree. And not only that part, Andrew, but what about the part for the person that actually asked for the training and the development or the support or the guidance or the mentoring or whatever it was? How do you think they feel? For anyone listening, pop into the chat bar. How do you think they feel? Because I can guarantee now they feel like they're not worth it, that you don't value them, that clearly that you're not a part of the future of the business. So
they don't fit, they don't belong, and they don't matter.
Absolutely. And why don't I show you some stats on that, right? Because I know from a financial perspective, if you were saying what's his hourly rate, I think that's a really great way to consider it. But I talk about Gallup, and I'm just going to share my screen. I talk about Gallup because Gallup do some wonderful research, and I think it's really important for everyone to take note of what Gallup do, because it is worldwide. So it's not just a small cohort that we're sort of taking this analysis from and coming up with a theory. This is real figures. And I've only just touched on, hopefully you can see my screen. Can you see my screen, Andrew?
Yeah, I sure can. Yeah.
And again, this is what I was talking to a group of leaders about a couple of weeks ago. The cost of poor leadership to Australian businesses is $50 billion. So in 2022, the Australian Institute of Management did some research, $50 billion in Australia. So you could imagine what that figure would be like in the US, and you could imagine what that figure would be like in the UK. The second one that I love, and it was from, I think it was Diety or the research house, was $126,000 a year a poor leader costs the company. So 126,000. So when people are asking for support or development or growth, and leaders are saying no, they're literally putting $126,000 down the drain, because we're going to get low productivity, turnover, and staff desertion, in disengagement.
And I mean that 126 can be spread over the staff. But let's say you've got a staff member at that middle management who's on a salary of 126,000, which most of my guys would be easily.
Yeah, for sure, mine too.
There it is right there. And then you've got the cost to replace and find someone. You've got the loss of continuity, all of that stuff. So I think that 126 is a conservative figure.
I agree. Yeah. So when we think about the cost of untrained leaders, this is not just emotional, low communication or disengaged staff or stress or burnout. There's actually some true financial impacts for organisations when they don't support and develop their leaders. And I think it's really something all leaders need to be thinking of, all leaders of leaders, that is, really thinking about, because it's absolutely critical that they get that bit right. Otherwise, they're wasting money, losing good staff.
Kylie, can I ask you, put the first slide up again, because there were so many good points. We only touched on two of them, but I'm sure people who are either watching it live or on replay would say, oh, I want to take a screenshot of that because it was such a good slide.
Yeah, I love it, because it really is that. It really does show you what you need to think about, what businesses really do need to think about. And
well, for me, it's a list, but if any of these resonate, if you answered yes to just one of these, then the second slide is very relevant to you. I would argue, right? So on that list that Kylie had, if you're looking down at that list, and for me, it's poor communication. I see that all day, every day. In fact, I wrote a book on it. This is about me or you. Here
Can you see that now?
There it is. Yeah, look at that. So I would, if you're watching, grab a screenshot. I just took a screenshot myself. Grab a screenshot of that. That is just a brilliant slide, because a next step for you guys would be generate that list, take it to a management meeting, and just do like a lunch and learn, or do a training where you go through this list and say, does any of this showing up? Is any of this relevant in our business? And what does that look like?
Yeah. And it's really good for HR or L&D teams or whatever it might be, people and culture, to really start to go right around our engagement, around our morale, around, even lacking direction and vision. And again, this is probably for another one. I won't get on my horse about this one, but lacking direction and vision. Again, I know so many leaders that actually don't know how to create that vision and that direction, which means that we get lukewarm commitment, or we actually get people that just don't know what to do. So take a snapshot for those that are listening and pop into the chat bar. What are some of the things that you see when you know your middle managers are not getting the support or training that they need? Or if you are a leader, what are you doing to make sure you are supporting and developing your people?
And both of us are on LinkedIn, and we're going to make comments about this coming up on LinkedIn. So jump in either to the conversations that you see on LinkedIn as well, and put your comments in there, which would be fantastic. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love those two slides. I mean, they're not throwaway. Those two slides are not throwaway. Spend the time with it. And if you watch it on the replay, you can do a screenshot of the second slide as well, which is great. Where do people find that research?
Well, I did a whole lot of work around Gallup and Australian Institute of Management. There is so much, like Andrew, we know we come from a research background.
Yeah.
There is so much out there that talks about this. What I love to do is just shine a light on it, because I just see so many companies.
I get a lot of my stuff
underperforming.
from the House of Commons parliamentary debates for the politicians on
Yes.
economic performance. That's where I go. And anyone can go onto that website. And in Australia, it's the Ombudsman. I think you can go there
Yes.
on
Yeah, right.
actually, so you can go and look at economic performance inhibitors and whatever it is, just from a government perspective, how they see it, because that's what they're getting briefed on. So I go to the House of Parliament here in the UK and look at that one. Yeah, it's a good. And they do great stats, but they're looking at, like you said, they're looking right across the country. If you're in the UK, in the US, they've got a similar thing. So yeah.
Randstad, I think you shared a report with me from Randstad, wasn't it? I think it was Randstad.
Right, yeah.
We should, and this is really important stuff for leaders out there. So we might even touch on that next time.
Yeah.
As always, thank you, Andrew, for spending time with me and just shedding a light or shining a light on the importance of our middle managers out there. Have a great day.
You too. You too. Good.